My mother was a wanderer. We rarely stayed in the same place for longer than a year. By the time I started middle school, we had lived in over 20 different homes. It wasn't until I was older that I understood why she was always running. She didn't face conflict. She evaded it. I was a naive kid, but not blind. I noticed the pattern. My mom was always asking someone for something. Pills, money, cigarettes, and when it came time to pay them back, she disappeared. I lost count of the nights we hid in closets, holding our breath while someone pounded on the door. I never felt like we were in danger, not exactly, but I understood, even then, that my mother would do anything to avoid the people she had used. Her ability to manipulate people and situations was a magic trick that would have put David Copperfield to shame. As I grew older, I learned to see behind the curtain. The act always began the same way. She painted herself as a victim. She could craft a story so seamless, so convincing, that you'd swear Apple had packaged it themselves. Flawless, airtight. Once she had her audience hooked, she'd shift to the next act. The illusion of effort. She made it seem like she had done everything in her power to fix the problem, though she rarely moved from the couch. And yet, she could convince multiple people, at minimum 2, that they were her last resort, that she had exhausted all other options. Then came the grand finale. Promises made, rewards reaped, and like a ghost, she vanished. She invented ghosting. I remember Mike Dong. I liked Mike Dong. He was kind to me, and he treated my mother like a queen. But after she milked a few months of rent out of him, we packed up and left without a word. Years later, after she died, he reached out to tell me what a good woman she was. Before we ghosted Mike, my mom got into a car accident. One that for once wasn't her fault. And let me tell you, she became Meryl Streep for the entire year. She never left the house without her neck brace, never let anyone catch her without it. And while I believe she was hurt, I know her pain wasn't as debilitating as she made it seem. But she convinced the doctors, the insurance company, everyone. And she walked away with a hefty settlement. That settlement changed the course of our lives. She bought a mobile home in the foothills near my grandparents, ready for a fresh start. But with money in her account, she saw no need to work. Instead, she spent her days sleeping off pain pills and her nights drinking with our neighbors. She became cruel to me, using my fear of losing her as a weapon. One night, she asked me to watch a pot of beans while she napped. I got distracted when friends invited me outside to play. The beans burned, the kitchen filled with smoke. She dragged me home, screamed at me for hours, then forced me to sleep in the car. Every few minutes, she'd yell out from the window that she'd hope aliens would abduct me, or that Bigfoot would eat me. Over the years, she crafted a version of me that wasn't real. I was the problem child. In reality, I was just afraid of her. I could never do anything right. I was too needy, too annoying. I became a burden. She withdrew from me, providing only the bare necessities while remaining emotionally vacant. By the time we moved to New Mexico, she was barely present at all. My grandmother was dying, and my mother spent her nights working and her days at my grandma's side. I spent 3 months alone in our apartment, cooking, cleaning, raising myself. I was in the 6th grade. Resentment grew inside me like an infection. When my grandmother died, my mother swung between being my bitterest enemy and my loving mom. The inconsistency was dizzying, and when we moved back to California, I started fighting back. I was taller now, mistaken for an adult more often. I didn't care what she had to say anymore. I had lost all respect for her. Her words meant nothing. And while I was never violent, never used drugs, she managed to convince everyone that I was more troubled than I actually was. As our relationship began to unravel, she got petty, vengeful even. One night, fed up with how much money she was spending on pills, I flushed her stash down the toilet. In retaliation, she called 911 and told them I had swallowed all of them. I was taken to the hospital and forced to drink charcoal. It was thick, grainy, and vile, coating my mouth like tar. From there, I was transferred to a 72-hour psychiatric hold. The kids were housed in one large room with foldable chairs that turned into beds at night. The TV barely worked, and the movie selection was limited, so I watched Fried Green Tomatoes, Cocoon, and Fern Gully on repeat. In 3 days, I saw a doctor once for all of 5 minutes. On the final night, they brought in a violent patient and moved me to an empty room with nothing but a cold, body-shaped table meant for restraints. No blankets, no bed, just fluorescent lights and the buzz of the security cameras. When I was finally released, I came home expecting some kind of relief, but she showed no remorse. Not a flicker of concern, not even a joke. Eventually, our battles led me to be taken away for 2 years, a different kind of torture, one I've detailed in other essays. But thanks to therapy, perseverance, and sheer stubbornness, I clawed my way back to her. We rebuilt something resembling a relationship. It wasn't perfect. She still made mistakes, still lost herself in addiction. But I saw her differently. And then she died. When she was gone, it felt like she passed her torch to me. My family certainly saw me as Carolyn Jr., and the truth is, I had inherited some of her toxic traits. For a while, I embraced them. I was actually homeless, actually in need. So I told myself that my manipulation tactics weren't deception. They were survival. As long as I had a bed to sleep in and food to eat, I didn't care who I had to lie to. Halfway through my relationship with my ex, I realized what I was becoming. But because that relationship was built on the same toxicity, I didn't truly face myself until I was alone. I can't erase the things that my mother taught me, but I can acknowledge them. I can talk about them. I can take away their power. For the last few years, my goal has been to undo the damage I caused, to live with integrity, to take accountability. I believe my mother did the best she could. Maybe she wasn't the best parent, but she wasn't the worst. She built a foundation for me, but it was riddled with deception. I stacked lie upon lie on top of it until the whole thing nearly collapsed. Now, I'm rebuilding, strengthening, restoring what I was given with weight-bearing poles. And I am getting more structurally sound by the minute.